What is up, though, Lions fans? It's your boy, Motors. Let's try that again. What is up, though, Lions fans? It's your boy, Motor City Don P. You already know what time it is. It is that time to bust that rhyme and talk about that slime, the grit and the grime. And if we didn't rhyme, it would be a crime. So go on ahead and set your phone, pick up the chime. One thing is for certain and three things for sure when you see me front your TV. Number one, the Motor City Cats are indeed back at it. Number two, we came to give you stats and not none of that static. And number three, perhaps the most important of them all, number three, want to make sure you keep your Lions news pragmatic. You may be asking yourself, how, Don? How, Mr. P, does one keep their Lions news pragmatic? Well, it's very simple. It's very easy. I'll tell you. I won't keep it from you. That's not what I do. You have to smash the like button. You have to subscribe. You have to share with your peoples. And once you've done those things in any order, it doesn't matter. Particular. Do this once. Do this twice. Do this third three times. I've messed up my numbers. Do this number one. Do this number two. Do this number three. It doesn't matter. But as long as you've done it, you've indeed kept your Lions news pragmatic. And speaking about your peoples, when you share this stream with your mothers, your brothers, your fathers, your sisters, your cousins, your uncles, your brothers, your fathers, your sisters, your mothers, your brothers, you name it, you have indeed cared about those people. You cared about those people because I got beans, greens, potatoes, tomatoes, lamb, ram, hog, dog, bean, green, potatoes, chicken, you name it. Anyway, what up, though, everybody in the chat? What up, though, everybody? What up, though, Pierce Sargent? What up, though, to the people who are going to be coming in? To the people that are lurking and murking, maybe twerking, but if you're doing anything else that rhymes with those things, I don't want to know. Keep it to yourself. Keep it to yourself. We're going to be talking about Bradley, Matthias, Jerome, Cornelius, Ignatius, Horatio, Horace, Odysseus, Shaka Zulu, Bartholomew, Tevin, Campbell, Holmes, and Dan Campbell. We're going to be talking about those guys because I binge watched, or I say binge listened to just about every episode of Inside the Den, all the way up through the Broderick Martin draft. And the reason I did that, shout out to my boy, Mr. Morale 313. The reason I did that is because I wanted to know. I wanted to understand what happened, how these moves got made, and it was very telling. I came out with a different perspective on Brad and Dan. Now, the weight of the situation is still leaning Brad. And the reason because that it's leaning Brad is that Brad is responsible for all things roster building. It's not just the draft that he's responsible for. It's free agency that he's responsible for. It's deciding in free agency if you're going to give a certain person the money or what kind of offers you are going to make that person. Now, Brad and Dan are tied at the hip. This is what they say about each other. But I can't tell you that Brad went into the room and said, hey, man, do you think we should cut Zadarius Smith? And Dan Campbell's like, we're good. I can't tell you that Brad went into the room and said, hey, Dan, Kevin Zeitler wants $9 million a year. What you think? Should we re-sign him? And Dan was like, no. I can't tell you that Brad went into the room after Carlton Davis praised Dan Campbell as his favorite coach that he's ever played for in the league. He told everybody and their mother and everybody who would listen that he wanted to stay in Detroit. And Brad Holmes goes into Dan Campbell's office and goes, "Hey, man, I know that Carlton Davis just professed his love for you in public, but he wants $20 million a year. I don't think we should give it to him. What say you?" And Dan said, "We're good." I don't know if the public facing show of solidarity is real stuff. Shout out to Braylon Edwards. Braylon Edwards said early on in this offseason that he no longer trusts Brad and Dan when they come to the podium. That you've got to show us the action. We're no longer going to listen to the speech. So when we go down that rabbit hole, we have to ask ourselves, if we're not going to believe what they say, and I understand why you wouldn't, what is the level of belief that you have in anything that they say? Because you have to go back over the years and listen. And I have done that. And I'm going to get to the point as to why I don't know if they are in as much lockstep as they like to paint the picture as. What up, though, Irv Gotti? So, Don, after the cap increase today, the Lions actually have positive cap space. All right, so we are going to, I have to make that adjustment. Okay. Once again, it's all good. It's fluid, you know. Love how Ignatius has made the final cut. Yes, Ignatius, definitely. Shout out to you. That's a banger. Before we get into that, actually, it is kind of part of it. And I'm sure everyone has heard the news because this is the night show. It's probably the latest night show that you're going to get at this point in time, when, you know, in Lions creator land. However, I think Crunch Time may be on at the same time. I don't know. Kwesi Adolfo-Mensah has been fired by the Minnesota Vikings. Here is the thing for me. And this is why it has something to do with the Lions. Not just the fact that we traded with Kwesi multiple times. He took TJ Hockenson off our hands and gave him a huge contract. Thank you very much. He gave us the pick that gave us Jameson Williams. Thank you very much. And I watched that pick yesterday, or listened to that pick yesterday, that whole situation, how it went down. Because again, I told you, I binged, watched, or listened to every Lions Den or inside the Den episode up to the Broderick Martin or through the Broderick Martin draft. I'm going to tell you very flatly and very plainly, the fact that Sam Darnold is in the Super Bowl is the reason that Kwesi doesn't have a job. I think that was the straw that broke the camel's back. The craziest thing is this, though. Kevin O'Connell kept his job. Kevin O'Connell signed off on the Sam Darnold leaving. Because Kevin O'Connell was the head coach. He had to co-sign the J.J. McCarthy situation. He had to co-sign it. Because you could have given Sam Darnold 2 more years. Just an extension of 2 years. let JJ sit because JJ wasn't ready. JJ was cheeks. And you saw JJ in your building every single day. You saw the way he practiced. You saw the way he worked. You saw the way that he sucked. And I can say that as a Michigan fan. Appreciate your service. Thank you for helping us get that national title. However, you're not an NFL quarterback. Not just yet. And even when he was at Michigan, Jim Harbaugh wasn't a fan of allowing him to throw the football. I said during the pre-draft process, watching him at the combine, and remarked on the fact that he couldn't throw an out route. He didn't have the timing. He didn't have the anticipation. He didn't put it in places where the receiver could get it. If it wasn't the receiver, it was nobody else. He was leading his receivers out of bounds, throwing it behind them. It wasn't a good look. Right? The same way that I told you guys about Caleb Williams, all he needs is a coach to teach him not, or to coach the hero ball love and worship out of him. And he seems to have gotten that coach, and that's going to be a problem for us if he has. I just want to let y'all know in the future, Caleb Williams, year 2, but year 1 with Usama Ben Johnson. Look, so much better. And people will talk about his completion percentage. The problem with Caleb Williams right now is while he may not have a great completion percentage throughout the entire game, he has a good enough defense to get him close in the fourth quarter. And then when the fourth quarter comes, he's just got a knack for turning it on. Now, he didn't do that against us. However, they were not far away from the NFC Championship game. I'm just saying, in his second year. So that's something we gotta. That's a problem. I believe I'm in the minority on this, but I'd rather have Ratledge over Zeitler. Rat is going to turn into Zeitler in a year and a little cheaper. Here's the thing. We could have had both of them because Christian Mahogany doesn't look like he's that guy. Miles Frazier, who knows? Another 5th-round pick. Christian Mahogany, a 6th-round pick. And we're going to get into that in a second. Well, Osama lost his henchman, Declan Doyle. Do you really think Declan Doyle was really doing that much? He's the offensive. It's just like the offensive coordinator for Kyle Shanahan. Okay, we'll see. The offensive coordinator for Sean McVay. Okay, we'll see. Like what? Oh, he got this job somewhere else. Okay, we'll see. We'll see. Was he really? Did he? How much did he learn? Did he really learn it? So I'm sure and I can tell you 100%. The Chicago Bears fans don't give 2 damns about the loss of Declan Doyle. The Chicago Bears fans are Beyonce fans. You must not know about me. You must not know about me. I have another OC in a minute. You know what I'm saying? To the left, to the left. You can take your play call sheet in the box to the left. All right, they don't care about that. They got Osama. Yeah, I know he went to the Ravens. The Rat or Zeitler, either of them have to learn left guard. So why would they have to both, either of them? I'd be fine with keeping Zeitler where he was and having Ratledge, because Ratledge is younger. He was a rookie. They tried to put the man at center. Okay, so I would have been fine with that. I think he would have. I think he would have done a whole hell of a lot better than Christian Muhammad. Christian Muhammad. Christian Mahogany. Christian Mahogany was getting his lunch eaten. Okay, it didn't look good. It wasn't because of the injury. This was before the injury. So I think if you keep Ratledge, you don't have a revolving door of Christian Mahogany, Tristan Colon, Miles Frazier, and who was that one guy that we brought up? What was his name? Chris something. He was a tackle, I believe. But I mean, I think if you keep Zeitler, you solidify or stabilize the offensive line. I don't want to say solidify, but you stabilize the offensive line. We don't go from 4th in rushing to 23rd. You know? Yeah. All right. Here's the thing. I'm going to start off talking about what I learned yesterday, or not learned, just reaffirmed. Brad Holmes did great in the draft year 1 and year 2. He almost did great in the draft in year 3. And then you'd be like, oh, well, how is it almost? He got Ja, he got Laporta, he got, yeah. Okay. We know. We know who he got. All right. First year, you get Penei Sewell, then you get Levi Onwuzurike. I don't remember exactly if Levi Onwuzurike was dealing with back injuries in college, right? But basically that's when in his rookie season, that's when the injury started. He had the back injury in the rookie season. I think he sustained it in the rookie season. I don't think he had it during college, but he sustained it in the rookie season, and that was it. He played one in 4 years. He played one healthy season for us. Okay, actually, we should say 5 years because he got paid to not play this season. I think that paying him to not play was not just the decision that Brad Holmes made. I think that was a Dan Campbell and a Brad Holmes decision. Because we love us some Levi. We love us some Levi. So anyway, in the first draft, you got those two guys. You got Lee McNeil, and you got Iffy. Okay. Good drafts, right? Okay. In your second draft, I'm sorry, and you got Amon-Ra St. Brown. In your second draft, you get Aiden Hutchinson, you get J-Mo, you get Kirby Joseph, you get Malcolm Rodriguez, you get James Houston, you get Chase Lucas. Okay. Now Chase Lucas is still in the league. This is important. That Chase Lucas is still in the league. He was playing in the playoffs with us, and he was also playing in the playoffs this past playoffs with San Francisco 49ers. The common theme, and they said this, was basically, hey, we're just drafting players we love. We're just drafting players we love. Dan Campbell was super duper excited about everything. Brad Holmes was super duper excited about everything. And Sheila was super duper excited about everything. Then we get to the Broderick Martin draft. And I call it the Broderick Martin draft, even though we got Jahmyr Gibbs, Jack Campbell, Sam Laporta, Brian Branch. I've always said that the Hendon Hooker pick was a nepotism pick. And most of us liked the Hendon Hooker pick, especially if you didn't have complete faith in Jared Goff. And everybody was like, oh, he would have been the Heisman winner if he didn't get injured. And I wish he hadn't got injured. I wish Hendon Hooker would have gone on to be fully healthy, win the Heisman, and be off the board in the first round. The Hendon Hooker pick is also a hindsight pick. I don't think that the Hendon Hooker pick was as much. I hate the pick now. I think it was a wasted third round pick, but I don't think it was as bad at the time. It wasn't what you would call a luxury pick. You know why I'm saying it's not a luxury pick? Because we still to this day do not have a competent backup quarterback. We still to this day do not have a guy that can come in and steady the ship for a game or two. We have no faith in Kyle Allen. The only person we had any faith in was Teddy Bridgewater. That's it. And Teddy Bridgewater left to go coach high school football, and then he came back to the NFL with the Bucks. I mean, we've had Kyle Allen, we've had Nate Sudfeld, we've had a revolving door of crap at the backup quarterback. David Blau, I mean, everybody loved Hard Knocks with his wife, Melissa, who looks exactly like her brother, or her brother looks exactly like her because she's older. It's weird to me to look at Christian Gonzalez and see David Blau's wife. I don't know. It's just always been weird for me. Okay? And I'm going to get to your comments in a second. So, while the Hendon Hooker pick was a nepotism pick, Brad Holmes went to North Carolina A&T. He knows his father. His father was a North Carolina A&T, like a HBCU Hall of Fame quarterback. So on and so forth. A lot of people will tell you that they brought Hendon Hooker in here to railroad him or whatever, which doesn't make sense. You don't bring a player in and he's under the same regime. And remember, Brad and Dan are in lockstep for everything. You don't bring a player in to railroad that player. And we were having this argument with people in the preseason, this preseason, and I was telling everybody Hendon Hooker looks worse in year 3 than he looked in any other year. He doesn't even look good running the football. They won't let him throw. He doesn't look good while he's throwing. He doesn't look good while he's running. He doesn't look like a good NFL quarterback. So then he gets cut. And then he goes to Carolina and he goes, oh, it's good to be in a place where you want it. And then he gets cut a few weeks later in Carolina. So how that thing blew up, yes, it made it a wasted pick because of Colby Turner, because of Yahya Diaby, and the list goes on. of the people that you passed on. But at the time, again, you wanted to stash away a backup quarterback who maybe could have been more. At the time, Jared Goff hadn't done too much and he hadn't gotten his contract extension. This was the year that would be the NFC Championship game. And Jared Goff got his contract extension after that. The Broderick Martin pick. Let me get to your comments before I get to the Broderick Martin pick. Let me do that first. I would say it's a lot easier to learn a different dominant and kick foot than learning how to snap and do all that. Yes. Rat could learn left guard. Flipping the stance and getting comfortable takes time. It does, but I feel like he would have been better at that. Levi had the back in college. That's why Aleem was drafted. Okay, there you go. And it blew up in the NFL. Yeah, the first fusion in college. Okay. Was Barnes first or second drive? Genuinely can't remember. He was second. He was first because he was with St. Brown. Yeah. Okay. And I forgot about Derek Barnes in there. Thank you for reminding me. I remember experts saying if it weren't for his back, Levi would have been a first round pick. And you know what? He might have been. He just might have been. I know I gave him crap for his 3 half sacks, but that was his only healthy season. He wasn't playing football. He wasn't, maybe he could have made a difference had it not been for his back. But you knew about the injury and everybody was still so excited about drafting him. So excited. So excited, right? Hashtag if you know, use the hashtag. Everybody was so excited, but he had spinal fusion surgery in college. And shout out to you, Pierce Sargent, because I didn't remember if he had it in college or not. See how it's not hard to admit that you don't know everything. It's fine. Did we let Zeitler go after Frank retired? No. I was thinking we let him go, then got surprised with Frank's retirement. Regardless, I felt letting Zeitler go was the wrong decision. Solid player at the money. So what happened with Zeitler? They let Zeitler walk in free agency. And remember, Ragnow retired after the draft. But they knew. Brad Holmes came out and told you there were breadcrumbs. So he knew that it was a possibility, a strong possibility that Ragnow would retire. Yeah. And Teddy only went to the Bucs because he got suspended for a year from coaching. Right. But the point is he went to the Bucs. So he didn't come back to the Lions because we had Kyle Allen and we were good. He did come back to the Lions. Yeah, for the playoffs. Came back to the Lions for the playoffs. And then I told people again, that told you all you needed to know about Hendon Hooker. But people didn't want to listen to me, right? People wanted to say that I was an Uncle Tom. And, it was all a ploy to keep the black man down, even though one of the most celebrated quarterbacks in the NFL right now is Lamar Jackson. He was a back-to-back MVP, and he should have been a back-to-back MVP. Or was he got it twice? He should have got it a third time. But they gave it to Josh Allen last year. Broderick Martin. A big thing that we're going to get into a little bit more of a break. A big thing that was very prevalent in this inside the den thing was scouts. It might have worked out better. It probably would have. Tell you the truth, I'm not gonna hold you. Um, a big thing with this inside the den situation was the scouts. The scouts were very prevalent. I really believe it's a show to promote the scouts and the work that they do. The scouts were talking about the tape, trusting the tape. Brad Holmes comes on there, and I was specifically listening for this. He said, me and Dan had such an affinity for Broderick. Then you listen to all these scouts talking about the tape. We saw the tape. Broderick Martin was standing straight up. Broderick Martin would come off the ball and stand straight up. That's not good tape. Broderick Martin was what? 6'5", 300 pounds or something like that. They fell in love with his size. And you know what? I'm not even upset that they drafted Broderick Martin. Drafting Broderick Martin was okay. But let's go back to Chase Lucas for a second. Chase Lucas detailed where he was in the draft process. He said, okay, I started preparing myself for the free agency calls. Because he was sitting there towards the back half of the seventh round. And then he got the call from Detroit saying, hey, Chase, you tired of waiting? You ready to be a Lion? This is Brad Holmes. That's the same call you should have had with Broderick Martin. Broderick Martin was making a sandwich when he got the call from Brad Holmes. He was like, yeah, I was watching the draft. I was up there with my mama and them. And, she was getting towards the end of the third round. So I got hungry. I went to the kitchen. I was making me a sandwich. Bro, man, what you doing? Nothing. Just chilling. Making me a sandwich. Hashtag if you know you stash. So it wasn't the fact that you drafted Broderick Martin. I could understand all the tape. It was so tape-alicious. The thing I can't understand, and because Dan Campbell was a part of this love, affection, and affinity for Broderick Martin, they're pounding the table, so happy, elated, excited, slapping fives and hugging each other when they drafted Broderick Martin in the third round. The same Broderick Martin that this year was on 4 different teams for the entire season. That's not the mark of a good player. When you are bouncing around to 4 different teams' practice squads. I think the only run he got this regular season was like the last game of the year with the Las Vegas Raiders. The Las Vegas Raiders that have the first overall pick in the draft. They put you in the game in the last game of the season. You know what you don't want to do in the last game of the season when you have the first overall pick in the draft wrapped up? Win. You don't want to win. So they called you up, Broderick Martin, from the practice squad to not win. And this is the guy that y'all had so much affinity for. This is the guy that jumped off the tape. I can't tell. I can't tell how. This tells me that Dan Campbell is either lying or he's complicit. This tells me that Dan Campbell is either okay with drafting project players in the third round and using third round picks to draft project players. Shout out Manu, who was drafted in the fourth round, but they used a third round pick to trade into the fourth round. Now, during the Broderick Martin draft, this is also when Colby Sorsdahl was drafted. He's trash. He's cheeks. He's the bane of my existence. I hate the fact that they were so high on Colby Sorsdahl, but he's a fifth round pick. I don't care. You're drafted in the fifth round. Generally, a guy that's drafted in the fifth, sixth, or seventh round is going to be a perennial Pro Bowl player. Nah, I'm sorry. That would be crazy. A perennial special teams player. That's what he's going to play. When you go to the fifth, the sixth, and the seventh round, you're generally looking for either a diamond in the rough or a guy that's going to be on special teams. And they felt that they had a diamond in the rough with Colby Sorsdahl. Again, don't care too much about it because it's the fifth round. I can't say that they're bad at evaluating talent because I said the first two drafts were pretty excellent, right? Other than the Levi Onwuzurike pick, there weren't really any questionable picks from the first two drafts because he had the spinal fusion surgery in college. So that was questionable. And you use a second round pick to get him. Your second round picks weren't panning out too well. You had Levi Onwuzurike, you had Josh Pascal, yada, yada, yada. And they said, we're just drafting guys we love. They're in love with every player that they draft. And because that got you to a place where you were doing quite well, because that got you to the NFC Championship game, you felt that you were unstoppable. You know what Brad Holmes said after the 2023 draft, which was the Broderick Martin draft? He said, I don't think that these guys, and he's talking about all of them, I don't think that these guys need a year or two. I think they're ready to go now. Brother, you drafted a project player in the third round, and you thought he was ready to go now. That's where you lose me. Because it doesn't make sense. What up, though, Tactical Sport? It doesn't make sense for you to say that you thought a project player who was not going to be drafted. I'm sorry. Broderick Martin was not going to be drafted. He was going to be an undrafted free agent. He was headed straight for UDFA land. That's why this man was going to get a sandwich. He was going to get a sandwich because he didn't expect to be drafted. He especially didn't expect to be drafted where he was. Amon-Ra St. Brown was hot that he got drafted in the 4th round because he expected to go higher. You know, these players, they go in front of the draft board and they give them, you know, their expectations. Okay, you should go in the first, you should go in the second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh. I'm sure they told Broderick Martin at the draft board, "Hey, you're not going to get drafted, but just watch it anyway, just in case. You're big, and some team might fall in love with you." I feel like Brad and Dan they're both a part of this project picking crap. Kwesi Adolfo-Mensah was fired for poor decision making. Just because you've started off making good decisions doesn't mean that your poor decisions don't hurt. Your poor decisions hurt this team. Our offensive line is cheeks. Our defensive line is cheeks. Our secondary is cheeks. For your secondary, for you to be a DB snob, you've never had the one good cornerback that you had, you let him walk out of the door. I'm just saying, man. I'm just saying. Yes, when golf, we did that one. What up, though, Lamico Cardenas? And what up, though, Tactical Sport? Am I off base here? I don't know. I hope it gets better. I really do. I hope it gets better. Because it's when you think that it's just Brad, and then you realize it's also Dan. I don't know. Like I said before in the beginning, though, the free agents, the trades, is Dan just saying things to be politically correct? Is he just saying things in the media to be a professional, but behind closed doors, he's got complaints? I would say the end of this season was the first time that you saw not a rift, but you saw Brad Holmes looking dejected when he came to the podium. You saw something a little bit different from Dan Campbell. From Dan Campbell, you saw a guy that was just going, you know, hey, we got a lot to do. We got a lot of work to do. We got to sit down and we got to, you know, do this, do that, do the third thing. But with Brad, it felt like you saw a guy that was like, yeah, my job's on the line. So I don't know. It was a very disappointing rewatch. And like I said, I don't know if it's gonna turn around. But here's something that you can get behind. Here's an article from Detroit Lions on SI. John Macaron, the doc, friend of the show, you know what it is. How projected 2026 salary cap benefits Detroit Lions. The Detroit Lions have been informed by the league the 2026 salary cap is expected to be higher than it was last season. According to NFL media, the NFL informed clubs today it is projecting a 2026 salary cap in the range of 301.2 million to 305.7 million per club per source. That would represent another significant jump from this year's $279.2 million cap number and nearly 100 million than it should be 100 million more than the $208.2 million cap in 2022. Okay. 2022 to 2026. Okay. 100 million, almost 100 million. Okay. That's like an average of 25 million a year. See, remember what I was talking about yesterday when I said how much the cap can go up. Detroit has several key players that are eligible for contract extensions, including several players from the 2023 draft class. Currently, General Manager Brad Holmes must find avenues to restructure contracts to get back over the salary cap. The team is currently nearly 17 million over the cap, but are expected to gain a significant amount of cap space by restructuring the contract of veteran quarterback Jared Goff. Penei Sewell and Amon-Ra St. Brown could also restructure their contracts to aid the team's salary cap situation. Now, 17 million over the cap is not the spot track projection. So we'll have to see if he clarifies that. Taylor Decker, Graham Glasgow potentially being off the books and moving on from running back David Montgomery is also still on the table. Why you would move on from David Montgomery doesn't make sense to me. Because his contract's not expensive. What is it, like 5 million or something like that? Or 8 million? It's not expensive. So therefore, you move on from him. And then you do what? You go get another running back in the draft. If you get one of those 7th round guys out of Rutgers, I don't care. But, Detroit typically likes to leave approximately $15 to $20 million in emergency funds available throughout the season, just in case a significant amount of injuries impact the team, which they always do. With additional cap space going into the 2026 season, Detroit may elect to bring back a couple of their own free agents, including Alex Anzalone, El-Quadin Muhammad, and Roy Lopez. If you're bringing back AQM for like 8 million per, and I really want AQM to get 8 million per. But here though, again, 7 games with sacks, 10 games without them. Because you had 11 sacks. And here's why it doesn't matter that you had 11 sacks. This is where numbers lie. He had 7 sacks. Or he had seven games with sacks. Let's say that we won every game in which he sacked the quarterback. Let's just say that our metrics, and we know this not to be true, but I'm just saying this just for poops and giggles. Let's say that every game that El-Quadin Muhammad gets a sack, we're undefeated. That's 7 games. Our record is 7-10. Now, for those of you that come in late and you be like, our record wasn't 7-10. I know it was 9-8. I know what the record was. But what I said was, we're going to play a game called Numbers Lie. El-Quadin Muhammad with his 11.5 sacks or 11 sacks, whatever it was, all amassed in 7 games. 10 games on the season, he didn't have sacks. So let's say that our wins are directly correlated with El-Quadin Muhammad getting sacks in that game. 7 wins, 10 losses. Because in 7 games, he got sacks, and in 10 games, he did not. Are you going to pay that player, who's also going to be 32 when the season starts, $8 million per year? If you're gonna pay an old guy $8 million plus per year, you go get Khalil Mack. Khalil Mack has a track record. So per Tom Pelissero, the NFL informed clubs today it is projecting a 2026 salary cap in the range of $301.2 million to $305.7 million per club per source. That would represent another significant jump from this year's cap, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, so we read that already. That was just outside of the tweet. So if I go to Spotrac right now, let's go to the Lions. I don't know. When y'all use Spotrac, is it just unresponsive? That's crazy, bro. Spotrac.com, NFL, Detroit Lions, NFL page isn't working. That's what it says. Spotrac.com, bro. I'm telling you, I don't know. No, it's not working. I have no clue what's going on with Spotrac, bro. What up, does Zach J? Yes, indeed you are. They have a lot of ads on Spotrac. It just went down for me. Like it doesn't. Now it comes back up. All right. NFL team cap. Let's click on that and hope it loads. All right, here we go. NFL team salary cap tracker. Of course, Tennessee's number 1. And the Detroit Lions are number 23. It says they have negative $8,266,960. Okay. So that's where I said I don't know where he got the negative 17 million thing from. Cleveland has negative 19 million. So I don't know where he got that from, but Kansas City has negative 57 million. But they can just keep restructuring Patrick Mahomes as much as they want. All right. Mailbag. What you want to do? What you want to do when they read and you snick. Mailbag. Get your mailbag questions in. Get them in. Bask in it. Get your mailbag questions in, man. Whew. Yeah, so as I said, we've got Oh, that's interesting. Our average age on our team is 26.4. Very young team. The Tennessee Titans have $99 million in cap space. The Las Vegas Raiders have 87 million. The Seattle Seahawks have 75 million, 597, 972. The LA Rams have 46 million, 762, 912. That's crazy that we just don't have. I don't have any Hassanin predictions, bro. Like, why are we talking about this? I don't have Hassanin predictions. My prediction for Hassanin last season was that you should let the man develop. People were sitting up here talking about he was going to have 10 sacks, 15 sacks. People were talking about he's going to have more sacks than Hutch because he said he would die on the field for Dan Campbell. He didn't play a single snap. I don't have any predictions for Hassanin. Hassanin was a 6th-round pick. That was my prediction. He's a 6th-round pick who's been playing football for 5 years. He needs to develop. So my prediction is that if he doesn't get injured, he'll have more time to develop. That's my prediction. I don't have any expectations. I'm not doing the Hassanin thing for the entire season this season. I was right about last season. He did not play a single snap. I told people they need to pump the brakes, and I will not be entertaining Hassanin talk. I'm just not going to. It's like, this is ridiculous, man. The only hope I have Hassanin is that he becomes a reliable rotation player. Bro, he was drafted in the 6th round. He's a special teams player to me until he proves otherwise. I just said, if you're drafted in the 5th, 6th, or 7th round, you are a perennial special teams player. If you carve out a niche for yourself elsewhere, more power to you. If you don't, you're on special teams, and that's great. I'd love to be in the NFL right now playing on special teams. To be getting an NFL check and playing on special teams, being on somebody's roster, that'd be awesome. I'm not, you know what I mean? But this fan base and these mythical creatures, bro, it's you know, James Houston got so much hate, and he actually produced for a 6th rounder. Hassanin is like this folk hero and has done nothing. I don't understand it. Mailbag, any free agents that you want to get in here, especially at cornerback? Who's a free agent at cornerback? Let's see. If Spot Track will work, I will try to figure out. Let me see. No, that was a problem. I just clicked on the bar. Let me see. NFL free agents 2026. All right. Well, we can go to Spot Track from Google. All right. Not from inside, but you know. All right. Let's look at some corners. Trayvon Diggs, Jamel Dean, Jimmy Ward, Jonathan Jones. Malik Robertson, Eric Stokes. I would take a flyer on Eric Stokes. I know he never panned out in Green Bay, but I would kick the tires on him. Definitely, I could go after Greg Newsome. Um, here's the thing that I think will happen. And when I was watching Inside the Den yesterday, I had this thought. I think they bring back Iffy. I think they bring back Iffy because Iffy is familiar with this place. He left Detroit and got, what did he get, like $4 million a year or something crazy like that in Miami. It says previous AAV for Iffy was $3 million, $10,000. Benjamin say Juiced is somebody that I would bring in here. Oh, guess who's a free agent? Jeffrey Namumbo El Hell No Kuda. Jeffrey Namumbo El Hell No Kuda is a free agent. It doesn't give me any pleasure. It does. I'm stop lying. It does. Roger McCreary. I mean, Adoree Jackson, is anybody? Adoree is 30 though. Is anybody interested in a Kendall Vildor? A Kendall Vildor reunion? Asante Samuel Jr. maybe? Chidobe Awuzie? I'm looking on the lower end of the salary spectrum. I'm looking on the lower end of the salary spectrum because, that's what we have to deal with right now. You hear the talk that's going around forecasting how many Lions will be hurt by week 5 in the regular season? No, I haven't heard that one. What about safety? All right, let me get in my bag here with safety. I wouldn't be opposed to Iffy, and that would help with safety as well. That would allow us to move Branch to the nickel once he gets back. Yes. Nah, DiCaprio Boodle. No. Okay, so Okudah was not. No. Okay. Y'all know I have no love for Jeffrey Namumbo Chinedu. Chinedu Okudah. It's amazing to me that he's yet again looking for another team. I mean, it sucks that he was on a team that beat the Lions twice this year. That sucks. But also the fact that he did nothing in the games makes it a little bit better. I know he wanted to get in a game and pick off Jared Goff or do something, but he did nothing. He was probably ready to knock out Kirby Joseph with a concussion again, as he would do when he was in Detroit. But all right, safety. Let's see who's in my safety room. Let's see. Hold on, let me split these. All right. Safety. So guys in the chat, let's rank what the questions. So Jamel Dean he's 29. I mean, if we were gonna replace DJ Reed, that would be fine, but I don't think we are. So all right, so I'm going Eric Stokes, Greg Newsome, Iffy, Benjamin St. Juste, Roger McCreary, and that's it. So what do you guys think of that? Eric Stokes, Greg Newsome, Iffy, Benjamin St. Juste, Roger McCreary. And these are what you would call affordable guys. All right, let's go with safety. Kyle Duggar. That's 14.5 million, so probably not. Let's see. Andre Cisco. Kevin Byard is 32 years old, so probably not. Andre Cisco, Donovan Wilson, Aloy Gilman. Aloy Gilman is 28, but he also only cost Baltimore $5 million. Geno Stone, I definitely would pick up Geno Stone. We know Geno Stone's a ball hawk, so he could help us to mitigate diminishing returns on Kirby. Cam Curl, Reed Blankenship, PJ Locke. How about Miles Killebrew? Can anybody interested in a Miles Killebrew? Jonathan Owens. He always played well against us. Jaquan Brisker. Let's take him. I'm sure the Bears will re-sign him. Brian Cook is probably not going back to Kansas City because of their cap situation. Jordan Poyer is old. He's 30. He's almost 35. CJ GJ. You want to bring it back? Kobe Bryant of Seattle. Yeah, I think that's there's multiple safeties on the free agent market that we could get, and we're not going to have to break the bank. Andre Cisco is 8.5 million. Kevin Byard, again, we're not going to get Kevin Byard. Donovan Wilson is 7 million. Aloy Gilman is 5 million. Geno Stone is 4.9 million. Cam Curl 4.5 million. Reed Blankenship 3.5 million. PJ Locke 3.5 million. Okay, well, the distinction between Reed Blankenship and PJ Locke is $75,000. Reed Blankenship is 3.575. PJ Locke is 3.5 even. Who else did I look at? Jonathan Owens is 2.375. Tavier Thomas, I don't think we're going to take him from the from the Vikings. Jaquan Brisker 1.8, but that was last year. I think Jaquan Brisker gets a raise. That was his rookie deal. Brian Cook, 1.46. I mean, if you're interested in Chuck Clark, who's 30, 1.42. Jabril Peppers, 1.25, bring him home, you know. All right. I would take a flyer on Stokes and Stone. Geno Stone for sure, yes. No on Killer Brew. I was joking. I was joking. Killer Brew was like I don't know. I really loved Killer Brew for some reason. Like I don't know why. That was one of those things. It wasn't Ahmed Hassanin. It wasn't on that level. But yeah, no way they let go of Brisker. Yeah, that's not gonna happen. I wouldn't be opposed to Peppers either. You know, there's stuff out there. You know what I mean? It's so again when you look at the people, and we'll do this some more probably on Monday, right? When you look at the people available, they're out there, and there's some good players that can be had for not bank breaking contracts. So we should be fine if you go out there and are aggressive in free agency. Brad Holmes, look, I'm not gonna let me look at linebackers. Let me look at linebackers right quick. Because if you get 2 or 3 players at these positions, safety, corner, again, Eric Stokes ain't gonna break the bank. Geno Stone's not gonna break the bank at safety. You can bring back Iffy. He's not gonna break the bank. I mean, hopefully, I don't know what his injury deal was like in Miami. If he wasn't injured in Miami, but he comes back here and gets injured, then it's something's wrong here. I mean, you can put together a good secondary with these free agents, and then let me see. Like I said, linebackers. Okay, see what we got. The linebackers. All right. We're not dealing with Bobby Wagner, Levante David, Demario Davis. They're old. Okay. 35, 36, and 37 years old. You got Matt Milano but if you're going to bring in Matt Milano, you might as well just bring back Alex Anzalone. Obviously, you're not going to bring in Von Miller. Quincy Williams, available. EJ Speed is available. I'd love to have an EJ Speed coming off the edge. Got Quay Walker. I don't know what he's going to command. It said he got 3.46. I think that he was on his rookie deal. Devin Bush is available. Devin Lloyd is available. Landon Roberts. Justin Stranad, definitely go after somebody that was on the Broncos. Denzel Perryman is old, though. Christian Roseboom is 29. Grant Stewart. KJ Britt's available. Nakobe Dean, but that was his rookie season, his rookie contract. So that's why he's cheap. But yeah, once I get the numbers of like what they're actually going to cost, what's the projected number, then we can have a better conversation. But bruh, I mean, you know, they're there. As a matter of fact, the nickel linebacker role was Pepper's specialty in Michigan. Yes, it was. You know what I mean? Like he's been a returner, he's been a safety. You know, he's still decent, bro. So I don't know. There's a lot. I think there's a lot we can do. I want to put together some free agency packages for Monday if I have time. But bruh, I mean, when you look at the crop of people that are available, yeah, some of them are going to go back to their teams. Especially the cheaper ones are going to go back to their teams, or maybe not. You know, like Jabril Peppers, they just got a new head coach in Pittsburgh. Is he going back? Who knows? So I think it's less daunting than what it appeared to be with all the holes that we have. You just spend. You have to spend the money. I gave you all the game yesterday about contracts, option bonuses, prorated signing, all of this stuff. Like, just spend the money, bro. Everybody that comes in here, if they're willing to accept a Kirby Joseph contract, the money is there. We'll worry about cap hell later. I don't care, bro. We'll worry about it later. You know, if this is a Super Bowl window, you gotta, look at the Rams, bro. They worried about it later, and they were, a couple plays away from another Super Bowl appearance. You know, Seattle didn't blow the Rams out. You know, but that's it. I gotta get ready to get out of here. Once again, the Motor City Cats R&D back at it. We came to give you stats, not none of that static. Whatever you do, make sure you keep your Lions news pragmatic. We are out. And there's a couple more features. I'm making sure all the information is accurate, and then we'll be able to hopefully next week start testing out the mock machine. All right, we'll see you next week. Peace.